Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Smith with Penn-based Solutions, and I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Facilities Are Mission Critical. Before we begin, I have a couple of housekeeping items for you. All audience member lines will be muted throughout the presentation to minimize background noise, and we will be conducting a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So please feel free to enter your questions into the webinar panel as we go along. Please note that if you'd like a specific presenter to answer your question, include their name as part of your submission. And though we may not be able to answer every question today, we will certainly do our best. Our webinar moderators today are George Daly from Esri and Richard Kuchagian from Penn-based Solutions. We also have some peer presenters from Penn State and the University of Washington that we will introduce to you shortly. For now, I'd like to turn it over to George to start the presentation.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is George Daly and I lead Esri's program for GIS in Education Administration and Operations. The theme of our presentation today is Facilities Are Mission Critical. We're here today to explore some of the key challenges facing campus planners and facilities professionals in higher education and the technology solutions that are proving to be force multipliers in addressing those challenges. When we think about higher education, we're quick to imagine throngs of students and the faculty and staff that support their learning. However, higher education campuses are physical entities, a mix of buildings, associated physical assets, and supporting infrastructure across, at times, several square miles. Higher education campuses are very much akin to small cities with indispensable and interconnected structures, systems, and services. Without this vital environment, tackling the mission of teaching and research is impossible. In other words, facilities are mission critical, as are you, the professionals who plan, operate, and protect them. From classrooms to campuses, the FM organization of a higher education institution is charged with numerous functions, including the stewardship and sustainability of the total facilities and campus portfolio, while contributing to achieving the school's mission statement, providing an inviting state-of-the-art Thank you. Providing an inviting, state-of-the-art, safe, and desirable campus that attracts top students, teachers, and researchers, as well as sought-after grant funding, corporate investment, and alumni sponsorship. Facilities-related costs are typically the second largest expense of most organizations, right behind salaries and wages. So it comes as no surprise to you that effective management of facilities, assets, and infrastructure all remain a necessity. Threats, risks, hazards, you deal with them every day. Some are increasing, some are changing. All of them demand better safety and security planning and response. As a result, developing and sharing emergency action plans, risk assessments, campus event strategies, and information products are vital. In other words, you and your colleagues are busy with mandates and mission. So let's examine some of the work through the experiences at 3 important campuses and the people who can share their stories: Deborah Howard, Aaron Chevrant, and Benton Yetman. Our first presenter is Deb Howard, who is Director of Facilities, Resources, and Planning at Penn State University. Deb is going to share some of her insights on the mission-critical nature of facilities at her campus.
Hi, this is Deborah Howard. To give you a context, too, at Penn State, my office is responsible for capital planning, space, and real estate, along with a myriad of other functions that we take care of for all the locations. Most people believe that Penn State is just one campus in the middle of Pennsylvania, but Penn State is a multi-campus public research university that educates students from Pennsylvania, the nation, and the world, and improves the well-being and health of individuals and communities through our integrated programs of teaching, research, and service. And we are big, and we are complex. Our instructional mission includes undergraduates, graduates, professionals, and an extensive outreach program through both resident education and online delivery. But the best part of Penn State, of course, is our people. Our educational programs are enriched by the cutting-edge knowledge, diversity, and creativity of our faculty, students, and staff. This, of course, ties to the facilities in that it's our goal to have and keep these incredible people and to attract more, but we need the right environments that are conducive to a safe and effective educational experience. Another point of our mission is that we strive to celebrate diversity and focus on sustainability in all aspects of our educational and operational activities. Our strategic plans are designed to result in ongoing improvements that help prepare future generations and leaders. And of course, our mission is very similar to other institutions of higher education across the country, but our facilities play a critical role. Not only do they provide the competitive advantage and opportunities for tuition dollars and grants and contracts, but the optimization of space makes a huge impact on our bottom line. And facilities are also a key element in safety and security. And for whatever reason, in higher education, we don't like to share. So I sometimes think I'm the queen of space and sharing space. And Penn State is not a static environment. It's a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, and it's in constant motion. And we as the facility management players, we play a role in trying to keep track of all that. Penn State is among the most complex universities in the nation, and we've got a broad array of responsibilities, physical locations, and stakeholders. And even above the locations that were shown on the chart, we're establishing new locations as we go along. Our school has blossomed, especially in recent decades, and we're ranked among the top-tier universities in teaching and research in the world. Penn State, at the same time, this is something we don't necessarily like to be advertised for, but we have the highest tuition rates of all public institutions in the country. I'm not sure if we're number one right now, but we have been. So why would you come to Penn State? I mean, we have an enormous array of programs, 160 baccalaureate programs, 90 associate degree, 160 plus graduate degrees. We have $800 million in research expenditures, with a lot of that money coming from the federal government. We currently rank near the top nationally in annual spending on science and engineering research, and many of our colleges are in the top tier of their programs. But while all the above is impressive, it isn't really that brings people necessarily to Penn State. It's the first impression before they even realize the academic rigor of our programs. What they remember and recognize in their first impression is the new hockey arena, Beaver Stadium. We play some football. We have the largest stand of American elms in the country. The flowers are now blooming finally here in Pennsylvania. And Parents Weekend, our campus looks spectacular. We have grand new spectacular buildings, and we're on a big building boom. We're changing all our classrooms to high tech. We're renovating our labs, and our student union just went through a major overhaul. And hopefully, once they have that first impression, we'll be able to not only recruit the students and the faculty, but retain them. It's the stories of place and the experiences from our alumni that attract the right people. And it works. Even with some of the recent scandals you may have heard or read about, our admissions applications are soaring to ever high numbers at Penn State. These are, though, challenging times for higher education, not only with Penn State, but across the country. Nearly every aspect of higher education is being impacted as we have faced the global, national, and state economic recession that started in 2008. This recession, although not a good thing, it brought a lot of things into sharper focus. The myriad of challenges that face our university, shifting demographics, the rising cost of operation. We're trying to keep our tuition down and flat. The changing competitive landscape. We've had a lot of reductions in state appropriations. We're having more pressures for accountability. And with the economic downturn, there's still a lot of our state and even across the country that are still experiencing financial problems. These pressures clearly necessitate change. In universities, even though we're on the cutting edge of many things, we are slow to change sometimes. But we have to find new ways to improve our teaching and learning. We need to advance discovery and creativity, and we need to serve our many constituents, all while becoming more efficient and very effective. Penn State has been very conservative over the years, and we're proud of being efficient, but we need to do more. Space utilization and management will play a significant role here. We must focus on and balance our current fiscal realities with the continuing optimism and our vision for the future, all with an eye towards sustainability and efficiency. We need to map, measure, and analyze to validate the right decisions. We can't manage what we can't measure. You can't manage what you don't know. Therefore, the quest for knowledge on the performance, use, condition, and sustainability of our facilities is paramount to our future success. And the more we know, the more we want to know. The cost of every square foot of space continues to rapidly escalate, and almost every funding source has strings attached. A lot of it has to do with performance, execution, what you can and cannot do with research space that's funded by federal research dollars. If we can't accurately account for our school space and how it's being used, these funding benefits could be harder to get in the future. For the first time ever, our research expenditure went down a little bit last year. We've got to do more with less. And when your university has over 30 million gross square feet, 1,800 buildings, 23,000 acres, and we're buying and growing more as we speak right now, and we have an insatiable desire to continue to grow. No one ever calls me and says they have extra space. They always want more, and usually they want somebody else's. It's become very complex in determining where to invest for the present and where to invest the best for the future. And although we continue to expand our inventory of existing buildings, those must be maintained and managed. Many of our facilities were built in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and they were built with very different program and occupant needs. And on the top of this, even with our growth as a university, we've made a commitment to reduce our power utility consumption by 20% while on a growth demand. So we have all these competing complex needs. But we teach our students that the real measure of success is what you do to improve the lives of others. So our role as facilities managers is to set the highest examples. We must be sustainable. We must try and remain affordable. We must be safe and inclusive, and we must meet our mission. Penn State recently experienced an unnatural disaster. It was the Sandusky disaster. We've been on the news again lately because of the fraternities, and we were totally unprepared. Our campuses have always been wide open, and our main campus in State College is very rural, while many of our other campuses are located in much more populated areas in the state. We've got to change the way we operate. And like many institutions in the U.S., we're seeking to recruit more international students. Plus, our student population has become much more culturally diverse. And the support and needs of a global student are much more intense than the undergraduate student from down the highway in Altoona. And as we attract a more diverse student and faculty, the safety and security requirements multiply, not only with the increase in the number of students, but the perception and experience of a more culturally and globally diverse community. They look at things differently. The university, while building on its strengths, is also focusing on potential threats, both natural and unnatural. We are now focusing on business continuity, disaster recovery systems, scenario planning for events, identifying systems for continuing operations, and increasing security and compliance staff and systems. Penn State is currently a mixture of centralized systems and support, plus forests of isolated systems and information. we face the same situation that any large enterprise faces. Information is needed immediately, and the old mainframe systems, which we should have replaced decades ago, they don't provide the information needed. So as a result, there are pockets of information in separate systems all over this university at every campus. Many of our antiquated mainframe systems will be replaced over the next few years, and we're going to be investing hundreds of millions of dollars. But to meet our goals, we cannot be complacent, especially when it comes to safety and security. I see the GIS tools and systems will provide an opportunity to bring our logistics, safety, emergency planning, infrastructure, space assignment, and all the other isolated facility information together in a consolidated, readily available system of record. Some people over the recent years believe that possibly the physical campus may not survive, as there's going to be so many opportunities to gain a virtual education. Many people believed years ago that the library would disappear because no one would want books. They would not survive. We'd all read them online. But our experience here at Penn State and many of my colleagues in higher education, these new formats are not a subtractive process. Rather, it's been a multiplication process, bringing many new students into the Penn State community. Our rural campus enrollments are growing faster than we could have ever anticipated, and our library is now a much more of a beehive of activity with patrons than in the past. We have GIS information and physical plant used for utilities. Another group is using Esri for landscaping. My office has a system using Esri for our mapping and plans and data in an Oracle database. None of these are connected. The parking office is using hard copy plans. Our telecommunications office has separate mapping or manual information. And campus safety and security are remote to any of these. Even our campus map is a separate endeavor created by our College of Earth and Mineral Sciences after doing a student project 20 years ago. And the demand for higher education, and we continue to grow. And we have to continue to do more for less. So it's time at Penn State, I'm working hard to bring all our information and expertise together for our facilities. I see a GIS-based comprehensive system as an integral first step in this arena. We spend way too much time and energy seeking information and having to know the right person to get the answer. In simple terms, you can't manage what you can't measure. We have to maximize the utilization of what we have, and I've got to have a way to connect all this information so we have one picture for our overall university. So now I'm pleased to turn it over to George and Richard to deepen the connections between a campus like ours and the value of GIS to solving problems.
Thanks, Deb. At the foundation of everything Deb has shared with us is location. The buildings, the assets, systems, events, including the people, all of them have a geography associated with them, and as a result, there are relationships and characteristics that can be visualized, analyzed, and integrated. The GIS is a force multiplier technology and a body of practices that help bring these things to life. It helps you do more with less by amplifying your efforts to produce more and improved output. More than making maps, GIS is about spatial analysis and data management across multiple scales. Think portfolio, to campus, to buildings, to spaces, to assets and infrastructure. As Deb went through her story, all of those pieces were coming to life. Known for decades as an instrument for decision support across large and small landscapes, more and more of the inherent powers of GIS are being applied inside buildings. And this aspect is of particular value on a higher education campus where the idea of connecting the outdoor campus footprint and its systems with its buildings and facility interiors can lead to new forms of understanding and integration. And by leveraging the unifying aspect of location, GIS provides a foundation to tie together seemingly disparate databases and enterprise systems to provide targeted solutions for the many stakeholders involved in that organization. So at your campus, and as Deb, went through her litany, she talked about a bunch of different stakeholders, as well as some things that are sort of plates spinning in isolation. So when we stop and think about stakeholders within a university and GIS, historically the primary stakeholders have been GIS professionals, persons versed in GIS and able to apply geography to a range of problems, whatever that might be: parking, utilities, landscape, space, you name it. The important thing here is these persons remain critical within your enterprise, but they're no longer alone. To meet the expanding needs of a higher education campus, the requirements of new users are being addressed, whether that's a space manager or a student, from an operations field worker to a sustainability officer. More of these and other mission critical and casual stakeholders are exercising the campus GIS system. For Esri and hundreds of higher education campuses, this GIS system is ArcGIS, a platform of desktop, server, cloud-based, and mobile tools, geographic content, and resources. And since 1969, Esri and our users have been applying geography and geographical tools and methods to a wide, ever-growing range of real-world problems. And while ArcGIS has many functions and capacities, by itself, it's not a comprehensive, ready-made solution for every situation, for everything. This includes areas of facilities and public safety. Here we work with and through our partners to extend ArcGIS. And in this particular case, Penn Bay Solutions is the leader. So let me turn it over to Richard Kajakian of Penn Bay to briefly introduce their dedicated solution suite, Envision.
Thanks, George. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Richard Kuchagian, the Education Practice Lead at Penn Bay Solutions. There are a wide range of stakeholders responsible for higher education facilities, as we've discussed today, and each needs a specific solution to support their efforts based on a common and accessible information. By employing a GIS-based facilities management solution as the unifying platform, facility stewards such as yourselves can better solve both strategic and tactical challenges throughout the facility lifecycle, saving time and money, protecting lives and assets, and creating an inviting, productive, and safe environment for the campus community. Built on Esri technology, the Envision Solution Suite helps you address several key areas of the facility lifecycle, including portfolio management for the identification, inventory, analysis, and management of owned or leased property assets, operations for the planning and management of costs, the optimization of space, the stewardship of assets, and the access to facilities information and documentation. And lastly, safety and security for connecting systems and data together for the proper planning and understanding necessary to better protect people and assets. To illustrate one organization's use of this GIS-based solution, Aaron Chevron, the CAD GIS program manager in the Capital Projects Office at the University of Washington, is going to describe how UW is leveraging ArcGIS and Envision to support their mission.
Thanks, Richard. So my name is Aaron Chevron. I'm the CAD GIS program manager for interior space here at the university. My role is to create and maintain the systems that are needed to support stakeholders' needs for GIS information so they can make more informed decisions. Facilities can be an important decision support and operations and a solution that delivers tremendous value to any organization that's dependent on their facilities portfolio to deliver on their mission. The nature of the university mission means that there's constant change, whether it's to support a new research grant or to teach new technology or just ever-changing changes in program needs. Facilities are a critical component to a critical component and need to adapt to those changes. In order to make the right decisions on what is needed to support those changes, the stakeholders need data, and they really need as much data as possible. GIS allows us to bring together data from a variety of sources that may have no other relationship other than their spatial location. For information where there isn't existing data, GIS also provides an easy way to collect and maintain information. So I want to share with you some of the ways that we're using GIS and as well as ways that we're looking to expand our system of GIS to do more things. Unfortunately, I can't show you our utility map because of security reasons. But we have been investing a lot of time and money converting our old CAD maps and paper maps into GIS for a few years now. We have miles of underground utility tunnels on the campus, and we also have other systems and assets that are in the ground, and we really need to know where everything is as we develop and change the campus. Being able to locate underground utilities with accuracy helps prevent costly accidents like accidentally drilling through a high-pressure steam line during a soil sample. Thankfully, it hasn't happened yet, but we have had a couple of close calls because we didn't know where things were accurately. Not only does this let us know where the utilities are, but we can also link the GIS assets with our records archive to bring up a variety of information from other sources. With mobile GIS technology, we can also inventory assets like light poles and trees in the field with high levels of accuracy and without the need to re-enter the information when we get back to the office. Our recent, can we go to the next slide? So our recent efforts are really pushing the need for utilities and infrastructure to the inside of the building to make that critical jump between the outside and the inside. One example is we've been working with our IT department to inventory the communication closets on campus. Not only does this help them know what they actually already have in those closets, but it also makes it a lot easier to assess impact of renovations or other client requests for more capacity. We're also going through a major voice over IP conversion, so we're going to be decommissioning some of the old utilities and really ramping up on some of the existing utilities. And next. So many of the assets that we have, especially those with regulatory requirements, are already managed by existing CMMS databases and workflows. In the case of backflow assemblies, these are tracked by the room number in our CMMS, but many times they can be hidden behind the contents of the room, making it difficult to locate, even though you know it's in that room. So using an ETL process, we're able to pull that information out of the CMMS and generate GIS points based on the room number itself. This way, during the next site visit, the tech can actually interactively relocate the point to the correct location within the room, or if it's not actually in that room, to put it in the correct room, in the correct location. This also decouples the data from the room number dependency so that if we need to renumber a room, for example, it won't move all of the information for that asset to that new room because it's really a fixed asset associated with utilities, not just a property or related to the room number. So by having location points linked to the CMMS, the information is also accessible from the field, even though all the business data is still managed by the CMMS system. Next. So our efforts with GIS actually started with a need for a better space management system. Our first GIS space inventory system was created back in about 2001 because we needed to have a better way of accurately understanding what our space usage was. We have a variety of needs for regulatory reporting for space, in addition to being, a truly critical data set for understanding what space we have and how it's being used. The data is also used for indirect cost recovery audit for research space that happens every 3 or 4 years. Space information is one of, if not the most important components in calculating the recovery rate for research. As a major research university, this is extremely important that we have the necessary funding to support the facilities where that research is being done. Next. So with the addition of CityEngine and the CityEngine web scene to the Esri toolset recently, we've begun experimenting with leveraging some of our space data in new ways. One recent project was a master plan for one of the schools, specifically focusing on 3 buildings on campus, and we wanted to be able to quickly and easily convert that data from the 2D information into a schematic 3D representation, and we used the Esri web scene to visualize that. It allows us to interactively visualize and interact with the data using the web scene platform. So not only can we visualize the data, go back please, sorry. Not only can we visualize the data by defining themes like room type and department, but we can also query the data. In this case, searching for research labs while color-coded by department provides a really great interactive thematic map. The goal with the prototype is that when the architect returns the master plan information and design options, we can load those in with the existing space and get a side-by-side look at the options and better understand the design more quickly to make the best decision we can on which design to select. So next. Of course, the ultimate goal is to get all the data in a true 3D location, not just a schematic representation. While we currently have the X and the Y correct, we're still lacking on some of the Z values. So with miles of underground utilities and a new light rail tunnel being drilled under the campus soon, and constant change on campus, we need to know everything there is, both above and below the ground. This also will be part of our new master plan that we're working on, which will help visualize the changes to the campus over the next 10 years or so, or at least what's planned. With a true 3D campus map, we can also visualize proposed projects much cheaper than we can right now, as well as be able to do true 3D analysis like line of sight to better understand the impact of proposed changes. So while not all of these tools are necessarily part of the Envision platform, we have chosen Envision as a solution for managing most of our GIS data. We're still working on rolling out our Envision system, but we are really excited about getting it up and running and getting everyone on board and using it. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Benton Yetman, the Director of Strategic Technology at Penn Bay, to show us a demonstration of Envision FM.
Thanks, Aaron. And good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Ben Yetman, and I help organizations build solutions on top of Esri GIS. As you've heard from Deb and Aaron, facilities are absolutely critical to their universities, and one of the common challenges that most organizations face is really how to bring together data from different systems and silos to support various university stakeholders. And these silos are very diverse. It covers everything from space and asset management to parking, to linking documents, utilities, scheduling, all across the board to master planning. So let's spend a couple minutes here and look at some of these concepts in action. I thought today we'd start with an example from my alma mater, the University of Redlands, where they're using GIS and exploring ways to leverage their common facility data across a couple different groups and bring together multiple systems into focused applications. So when you do this, you can really go from the portfolio level. We'll see all their current campus locations, drilling down to individual campuses and do things like manage space or assets or different layers of information. So here we are on the Redlands campus, and we can start drilling down into our infrastructure. If we're a space manager, as we are in this application, we can actually start drilling down inside buildings and understand the space layout and utilization. So because GIS is quite visual, we can understand this complex information visually by changing the way it's rendered. So here we can start looking at our space by the type of space and understand more information about each of these classrooms, or look at it by which of these are technology enabled, by the type of equipment, or look at it in really many different ways by access or capacity. So we can change the way that we view and understand that information. And we can also, from a space perspective, look at integration with other systems, such as scheduling systems or systems that help us understand and classify information about the rooms, flooring, other kinds of information related to equipment or assets. And you can also use this approach to drive reporting. So from any building or a selection of buildings, you can do things like start to understand roll-up of information. If we want to understand space utilization by type and the costs associated with it, we can do all of that. We can also switch gears a little bit and look at that same data, but from a different perspective. We'll put on our asset management hat now, and when we log in, we can see all of our current work orders, those things that we need to do today. We can drill down into each of those and understand them further. look at utility layers of information, turn those on or off. At a big picture level, we may also want to understand trends in information over time. So again, on the integration front, we're bringing data from other systems that are going to let us understand the roll-up of this information over time. Things like cost at the building level, cost of parts, how much we're spending on parts versus labor. Or if we want to drill down even further, we get to a particular building, we see information about it, we'll open a floor, and once we go inside, we can do the same kinds of things, understanding the cost information at the space level over time. So by bringing all these things together, we can give these focused views, really integrated views to different campus stakeholders and support everything from space like we've been looking at here to another example where we're looking at energy usage over time, waste and recycling, tracking environmental concerns. Or here's another example from a new university we'll talk about next, where they're focused on space utilization and classification, and also finding opportunities around space vacancy, places where they can, again, integrating other live system data, understand the potential to optimize their space. So everything we've looked at so far has been really a little bit more complex, where they're integrating data, bringing multiple systems together. But you can start as simply as just having a better way to communicate your facility data with the general public. So that can be as simple as a campus locator map. So if we wanted to search for a particular location or building, we could look for, say, a concert hall, find concert hall, and see exactly where that is, what it looks like, and how to get there through directions. So you don't have to start on the very complex integrated end. You can start quite simply, but that same facility data can serve you really across the board in all those different scenarios. So being that it's 3:37 a.m. in Perth, Australia, I'm going to be sharing with you today on behalf of Curtin University some of the work they're doing. They're focused on public safety, security, and support for emergency management. As I showed you very briefly there, Curtin University started out developing their GIS to support the space management side of the organization. And we're able to build out their indoor GIS really on that level. Having built that foundation, they started seeing interest from the critical incident management team and campus police, who were looking to access floor plans. And over time, they've built out a capability that brings together live data from many different systems, all really centered around situational awareness, tools that help them, if an incident does occur, model a response, bring together live data from CCTV feeds, and they're building alarm systems, really bring that all together into a single viewer, one application that everybody can look at, make sure everybody's on the same page, and have access to information from many different systems without having to learn each of those specialized systems themselves. So we'll look at this in action. This is the Bentley campus in Curtin University, and you can see all the various buildings on campus here, just like we saw previously where we could visualize our buildings by the cost of work orders. Here we can look at things like real-time alarm priority. So this is coming a live view from a building alarm system. Any building that shows up here in yellow or red or orange has some active alarm inside it. If you click on a building, of course, you can see there's two. We select one, we can instantly jump right down to whatever's throwing that alarm, the actual device, and further investigate. We can also bring together other feeds. So if we wanted to see where officers may be within the vicinity, other non-critical alarms, which we can monitor throughout the day. Lots of other data sets that bring this all together in one simplified interface. And if there ever is an incident, there are tools for supporting a response. So there are tools to help model the impact whether it's a bomb threat, a chemical incident, something related to a lab, other types of scenarios. But most importantly, because all of this is connected to the FM side of the house, in the event of an incident, they're able to actually understand who and what is inside each building. So if they have to help with evacuation or have to help first responders get in, they know exactly what they're dealing with, and they can pull up a list of all people that are affected and equipment affected, and make sure that everyone's safe as they're responding to any of these incidents. A couple other CCTV cameras, some of these really interesting feeds that they can launch directly from the map. They're also using this data, another set of analysis features in GIS to analyze this information over time. So looking for trends or ways that they can find occurrences. Here we can see heat maps in alarms over time, or understanding the coverage of their public safety officers, looking for those areas that there may be incidents occurring where there's not routine campus safety presence. And then all the way down to door access, getting down to the very granular door level, seeing those incidents over time and looking at histories of things like card reader denies. So the really important thing here to note is they're using the same underlying data in the GIS to support the FM side of the house, the security side of the house, and because they're sharing back and forth, they're able to better support everybody with just a single underlying data set. So with that, I will turn it back over to Richard Kuchagian. Richard, it's all yours.
All right, thank you, Ben. Well, hopefully everybody can see the screen. So I think our presenters have done a great job of both identifying why facilities are mission critical to the success of their organizations and in sharing the value of GIS-based solutions to their work. It is clear that the ArcGIS Envision solution is helping to make a difference in solving key business challenges. In looking at your own situation, you might be asking, so how do I get started? We have found that the most successful initiatives take root when an organization focuses on a pressing challenge or business problem, one whose solution will provide a noticeable improvement in understanding our workflow. As data, functionality, and process are assembled to integrate previously isolated information and workflows, users will embrace the new GIS by leveraging its powerful visual and analytical capabilities. As your original challenge is rapidly resolved, the value of the system becomes clear to your leadership and colleagues alike. They will quickly appreciate how the GIS-based solution addresses a broad range of facilities-related issues by using a common application and data foundation. It's important to note a familiar pitfall that many encounter when getting started. While data is critical to facilities GIS, the system doesn't require that every building or every piece of information be integrated before it can provide valuable results. The very nature of GIS encourages you to layer in data as it becomes available, allowing you to get started immediately. No matter what your primary challenges are, crawl first, where seeing is believing. Develop that proof of concept and solve a problem. Next, walk to enhance data and business processes. This is when the real benefits of information and stakeholder integration start being realized. And finally, run, because the system has now proven itself to be indispensable. You're making better decisions, creating more inviting places, making better use of money, protecting the campus community, and overall providing better services in support of your organizational mission. To help round out our discussion, I'm going to ask our panelists to tell us a bit more about their experiences in getting started. I'm going to start with Deb. While Penn State has long been acknowledged as a leader in GIS, and certainly with the description of your environment that you gave, you're now going through this process to retool how the Office of Physical Plant will leverage its investment in facilities data and technology. Can you share a bit about how you are getting buy-in for your facilities GIS and Envision?
Well, a lot of it, like I said, is opportunity. We are, finally Penn State's realized that we've got to upgrade all of our systems across the university. So we're upgrading our student system. We've bought a new scheduling system. Physical plant has bought a new work management system. We need to do something with our campus map. And I mean, I'm fortunate because of where I sit. I, get to speak with the provost and our senior vice presidents. So I'm going through educational, really justification. Instead of doing all these piecemeal things, let's just do it right and connect all these things together. So I'm still working on the sales, I guess, the marketing, but it's obvious to me that's the way we need to go. And we're investing in that kind of infrastructure right now, so it's opportunity too.
All right, thank you, Deb. Aaron, as you've discussed, the University of Washington is a well-known thought leader in the use of CAD and GIS technologies for facilities management. You all have been working on it for quite a while. But can you share a bit about your experience about getting initial buy-in, and then once you actually got underway, how have you been able to convince additional stakeholders to expand left and right throughout your implementation planning?
Yeah, sure. Well, what's interesting, I think, is that I think we kind of started backwards, where we started doing the left and right, getting out to all the other systems before trying to get the initial buy-in. Our use of GIS really came in from the need of individual groups needing to do their job better, faster, cheaper. And so that's why we started using GIS for space management and using the tools of CAD and GIS integration to make it more efficient, to provide higher level of accuracy for the data that we needed. We're really just now starting to get the buy-in that we need. We just recently finished up a lean process improvement workshop for one of the new senior vice presidents. And so there's a lot of interest right now in how we can take the GIS technology we've been using and really take it to the next step. But it's really required having a lot of different proof of concepts and different prototypes to show the value.
All right, thank you. And finally, Ben, representing Curtin University, which is, as you've described it, is now really in the running phase, but they certainly didn't start there. What were some of the what insight as to the process that they went through can you provide?
Yeah, so Curtin really started out with one focus, which was on developing their GIS to support space management and extending their space management solution that they use. So fortunate for them, they had extremely good CAD data, some of the best I've seen, and that made the process of migrating to GIS a whole lot easier. And since then, they've been able to, as other departments and stakeholders see the floor plan data, they naturally have kind of grown out from there to support other stakeholders.
All right. Well, thank you very much, all of you, for that. So I think what we can take away from the efforts of Penn State, UW, and Curtin, as well as the experiences of many other institutions of higher education, is that GIS is both the present and the future of facilities management. Moving in a direction that integrates both indoor and outdoor geospatial data into the enterprise workflows is critical to meeting your organization's mission. In order to help you get up and running quickly, we have put together several low-cost starter packages of Envision that are focused on solving key business challenges within a very short and controlled timeline. Whether you're trying to understand the capacity and utilization of your academic spaces for near-term space assignments or long-range planning, or associating departmental and grant information with research spaces to allocate or understand chargebacks, or coordinating events and security operations, there's a package available that marries the power of the ArcGIS platform to the capabilities of Envision that will provide your facilities organization with the tools necessary to succeed with the ever-growing responsibilities of managing your campus portfolio. Penn Bay is teamed with Esri to provide education and assistance options for professionals charged with the stewardship of their built environment. The goal of the following resources is to help you deliver the force multiplier effect discussed earlier which will allow you to do more with less by enabling new capabilities to support your mission. Information about the Envision starter packages that I just mentioned can be found on our website at the link displayed on the screen. For those interested in understanding the latest trends in technology, best practices, and a view of how organizations with similar challenges to yours are working smarter and more effectively, we have several use cases as well as white papers available to you. Of particular interest is a white paper that Esri, Penn, as well as the University of Washington authored relating to the value proposition of GIS data for facilities managers. It gives a great perspective on how geospatially enabled information is a must for effective facilities management. Also available in the coming weeks will be the white paper that is the foundation of today's presentation. It will provide greater depth and exploration of the topics discussed this afternoon. For those of you who would like to revisit today's presentation, as well as for those who are not able to attend, a video recording will be available for review or to share with your colleagues. And to make things easy, of course, we will be sending out a follow-up email with the links to all of these items so you don't miss out on anything if you don't get a chance to write them down. With the time that we have remaining, we will try to answer some of the questions received during this presentation. If we don't get to them all today, we will certainly follow up with you directly. So I'm going to turn things over to Jen for the first question.
Thank you. So our first question is around sustainability, and the question is, how does implementing GIS for facility management contribute toward our increasing needs for energy efficiency and sustainability? And Deb, do you want to take a first crack at that one?
Well, I mean, one thing that we have an issue with here is our build. You know, we're a 24/7 campus, and we could be shutting down the power in different buildings based on scheduled use, and right now we don't know that. So, I mean, there's an opportunity where some buildings will be unoccupied, you know, earlier in an evening, and right now they're running, you know, full power. So, I mean, that's an example right there. Another way, too, is you could tie it with the actual utility use of the different buildings to point out those that appear to be not performing well, high dollars per square foot. How to isolate those buildings in a graphical way. I mean, those are two examples right there.
Thank you, Deb. Aaron, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, we have been working on you know, the whole smart grid technology and being able to measure what the energy usage is, because as Deb had mentioned before, you can't
manage what you can't measure.
Yes, thank you. My mind went blank there for a second. So there's definitely a lot of work being done there on the measurement side, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to enhance that with GIS to make it smarter, a smarter smart grid. That we aren't quite there yet. But we've also been looking at even things to a granular level of where are the compost bins, where are the recycle bins, and are there, compost is one of the big issues. Recycle is kind of easy, but where do you put compost bins, and how likely are people to use those if they're so far away? You know, how out of the way are they willing to go to compost? And so we've started working on some analysis of where the compost bins are and where people are and where food service is, and be able to figure out how far are people willing to go and where should we start putting in more compost bins.
Great. Excuse me. Thank you. All right, our next question is from Brian, and this question is also for you, Aaron. He asks, do you have any tips for universities who have large quantities of CAD data that are not topologically sound?
I guess for me that brings up the question of what do you mean by topologically sound? I think, you know, if you're looking at it from a floor plan perspective, which of course is really my bread and butter, to me it really comes down to, do you have good CAD standards? Do you have room boundaries, unique room numbers, things like that are already in place? And if that's the case, that really is the hard work. There's a lot of tools available, and Penn Bay has some tools even to be able to help convert that CAD data into GIS. If it's base map related, that's a whole different conversation, I think.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. This question is from Craig, and it's for Benton. Using floor plans in GIS, is there a GIS feature per floor per building, or are the features for floor plans grouped by building or floor number? He says, I work on a campus with over 100 buildings and over 300 individual floor plans. And what is the best way to georeference CAD data for floor plans?
Yeah, great question. So I'll start and I'll let Aaron finish. So the facility GIS world uses really a normalized information model where you have a single feature class for building interior spaces and one for floors and buildings. And as you ingest your CAD, you're bringing across attribution that'll let that all live together in a much more manageable way. So just because you have 100 buildings, actually a couple of the examples we showed today, Curtin has, 600 buildings or so? And I know Aaron works with a lot. So there's not a problem if you're using one of those normalized data models and not trying to juggle hundreds of individual shape files or feature classes. And I'll say the best way to georeference your CAD data is talk to Aaron Chevrant, and some of the list script that he's pulled together is typically what we use. But I'll let him answer that, being that he wrote it.
Yeah, so it's actually a method that I picked up from another university, and honestly I don't remember who that was. It was during another webinar, and somebody was explaining what a world file was and how you can use a georeferenced site plan and a non-georeferenced floor plan, and by XREFing in the floor plan and transforming that, you're doing a similar operation that you would do in ArcMap for georeferencing, but then being able to identify two coordinate pairs that define the start and the end of the transformation. And so when you do a XREF or a block insert, 0, 0 is the insertion point of the floor plan, and then that's that's the insertion point of the block for the floor plan, and then 0, 0 is the source for the floor plan, and then just coming up with another random, I think I use like a 1000 point in the floor plan, and what that equates to in the georeferenced site plan version of that. And then just writing out a text file that is a world file. And so it's a way to use CAD as a method of accurately locating a floor plan on a site plan and exporting that configuration of the transformation out as an Esri world file. And as long as your floor plans all stack vertically, you have all of your grids aligned in X, Y space, you only need one world file per building. Or if you have multiple buildings that are kind of in the same coordinate space, you only need one world file for that sort of local coordinate system. I do have some utilities available online. I think it's called Floor Plan GIS. I'm sure we can make that available somehow. It's up on GitHub, free to use, as well as some other utilities for prepping CAD floor plans for integration into GIS.
Great, thank you. And I know we're approaching the hour here. We've got a few more questions in the queue, so please feel free to stay on as long as you're able to. Samuel is asking this next question. How do we, as GIS professionals, get the message across to upper leadership that don't know anything about this technology and that it's worth investing in? These types of things are often referred to as toys. Geez, Deb, do you want to take that one?
I mean, it's toys and cartoons and pictures that I think help most. It's, I think some of the way that I've been able to show is, it's the problem or the question that's posed to me, and if I can bring them back, whether it's a PowerPoint presentation or, I still use boards, but, just being able to show them things in a summary form, in a visual form, has really helped for me. I mean, it's here's the question, here's the answer, and it's something you can look at and talk about and analyze. That's what's worked for me. And I just constantly bring it up in terms of, the different, isolation of information. When I'm asked questions that I can't easily produce the answer, I'll usually give the story of the if, we did this, I could easily answer those questions. So it's a continual education. We're an educational institution, and we have to educate ourselves a lot.
Thanks, Deb. Aaron, do you have anything to add to that?
I think it really comes down to being able to graphically illustrate the answer to questions that management has. Because the old adage of a picture's worth 1,000 words is absolutely true, and being able to help management understand a large amount of information visually very quickly has a huge amount of value. But it really takes being able to have that initial question of, I need an answer to this thing, I need to understand this better, and be able to provide that visually. Usually people just get it right away.
Great, thank you. All right, we have 2 questions left, and then we'll wrap things up. Joshua asks, does Penn Bay offer consulting services in order for a university to move in this direction when it comes to CAD data and GIS data and getting this into the local government model and FISDM? And actually, Brian's question is similar. He asked if someone could talk about the state of the facilities information data spatial model, or FISDM. Is it still being actively developed and used? So maybe, Richard, you can try to address both of those questions together. Oh, Ben, actually, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. So Penn Bay does offer consulting services around getting you started, and we do advocate taking baby steps first. Starting small, starting focused is usually the right place to start. And the local government data model is one pretty popular destination for your campus data. FISDM has really transitioned over to FISDM, the Facilities Information Spatial Data Model, which is still a work in progress, is being actively developed. It's available out on GitHub with a bunch of resources. Actually, Aaron's on that working group as well. So a good place to start on the Penn Bay side would be one of those packages, or even a smaller sort of data consulting. And on the FISDM end, would love to have anybody that's interested be part of that community. It is open source and needs everybody's input to make it useful to everyone.
Great, thanks, Ben. And that is the end of the questions. I think we have one more slide just to wrap things up, so I'll turn it back to Richard.
All right, thanks, Jen. But in closing, I would first like to take this opportunity to thank Deb Howard, Aaron Chevron, and Peter Brigham, who's not with us today, from the University of Massachusetts at Lowell. He had a prior engagement. But I would like to thank them all for their support and the contributions to this presentation, as well as the Facilities Are Mission Critical for Higher Education white paper that will be coming out to you soon. Their participation was invaluable in bringing us this information to you. I would also like to thank all of you, particularly those who hung on the line at a little after 4 o'clock here, for participating, and hope that you found value in the information presented and ideas that will help you support the important missions of your organizations. And with that, I bid you a great afternoon, and thank you very much.